The Unlit House. Episode 1. Lights Off. Narrated by Atlas. The following is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real persons or events is coincidental. Listener discretion is advised. They say home is where the heart is. But what happens when the heart leaves? What's left is just a house. I stare at it sometimes, from the outside, like I'm pressing my face against the glass of somebody else's life. The furniture's still there, the bed's still made, sheets pulled tight, hospital corners, the way they taught me. The fridge still hums at night. Everything looks fine. But nobody's flipped the switch. Even when the lights are on, they're off. Let me tell you something about the dark. The dark is where the truth lives, not the version of yourself you wear outside, ironed, creased, standing straight, yes sir, no sir, chin up, eyes forward. That man is a performance. That man could win awards. The truth lives at 11 o'clock at night when the building goes quiet and you're sitting on the edge of a bed in borrowed quarters, inside a life you volunteered for because you were running from something you still can't name. And the thing about borrowed quarters is this. They make it easy to believe nothing belongs to you. Not the bed, not the night, not the mess you keep dragging in with you. They gave me just enough cover to air out my dirty laundry without ever really cleaning it. And once I got used to that, it became a cycle. Wash, rinse, repeat. One borrowed space after another, one bad habit feeding the next. And you open a notebook, and you write. I am enough. I forgive myself. All I need is within me now. Thank you. Every night, without fail, I am a magnet for wealth and money. I accept that money is a positive force for good. I embrace being a rich person fully. Even when you're broke, even when you spent too much again, even when the words are a lie dressed up as a prayer, the partner I seek is also seeking me. I now release blocks that are standing in between us. Even when you just left some woman's room 20 minutes ago and you're rating the experience in your head like a restaurant you'll never go back to. 3 stars. Wouldn't recommend. The kissing was off and she tasted like cigarettes and something chemical. And you came anyway because what else were you going to do with a Tuesday night in a place where nobody knows your name? You wiped yourself off with a towel that wasn't yours, pulled your pants up before she could ask you to stay, and walked back through the dark thinking about the affirmation you were going to write, 20 minutes later, about the woman of your dreams. The affirmation doesn't care what kind of night you had. That's the point. My name is Atlas. I'm not going to tell you what I do. Not yet. You'll figure it out, or you won't, and either way the story works. What I will tell you is this. I wear a uniform. I follow orders. I wake up before the sun because someone told me to, and I keep doing it because I've forgotten how to sleep past 5. I live in a building with other men who don't talk about their feelings. I eat food I didn't choose in a cafeteria that echoes. And every night, I write in a notebook that nobody will ever read. Or so I thought. I have been a lot of men. I was the kid back home who lied like breathing. I could read a room the way some people read sheet music. I knew where the melody was going before the first note. Every girl was a song I already knew the words to. And I sang. I sang a siren melody that had them under my spell. Words so smooth that clothes melted off of them as if I had majestic powers. When their clothes were on my floor and their trust was in my pocket and I was already rehearsing the next verse for somebody else before the first one finished sleeping, I sold them on who I could be, not who I was. And they bought it, every time, until the receipts came due. I was the man who packed everything he owned and drove across the country for a woman. Against the advice of everyone who claimed they loved me. The month is January. cold so deep it cracked your skin. I stood outside her building like a fool and wondered why giving up everything doesn't automatically mean you get something back. She didn't think it would happen for us. That's what she said. Didn't think. But I heard maybe. Because that's what I do. I hear the one word that lets me stay at the table. Gamblers do that. They hear almost and think it means next time. I sat in that city waiting for her to change her mind while she was out discovering 50 shades of a life that I couldn't give her. And she'd invite me out sometimes, and I'd show up, and I'd smile, and I'd pretend I didn't know it was pity. I sat at her table like a man with a losing hand who keeps pushing his chips forward because the alternative is standing up and admitting that the game was over 3 hands ago. She folded. Not because it wasn't in the cards. She folded because I didn't know when to stop. And eventually, I busted. And she didn't waste any more time or money. And I stayed at the table, wishing I could get another shot and a lucky hand to try and do right, like gamblers wish all over again. I was the man who discovered powder on a countertop and thought, this is what it feels like to stop thinking, to stop calculating, to stop being the smartest person in the room and just dissolve. Someone cut a line and I leaned in because the math in my head was too loud and the white made it quiet. And sad. Sad made me... I never finished that sentence. Not then. Maybe not now. And now I'm this. A man who writes affirmations at midnight and wakes up before dawn and does push-ups until his shoulders scream. I'm 35 and still clueless, but I'm doing more here than I ever did out there. I've got a business plan for a delivery service I keep renaming, 3 versions deep and counting, because even the names told on me. I wasn't trying to deliver packages. I was trying to deliver myself. I fell asleep writing the pitch one night, phone in my hand, mid-sentence, the screen full of gibberish where my thumb dragged across the keyboard as I went under. I woke up the next morning and read it back and laughed, and then didn't laugh because the gibberish was more honest than the pitch. The gibberish said what I couldn't, that I was exhausted from building something out of nothing and calling it ambition when it was really just a man trying to outrun his own reflection. But the house is still dark. I know because I keep proving it. Let me tell you about the women. Because you want to know, I can feel it. You're listening to a man talk about his feelings, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you're waiting for the part where the clothes come off. I respect that. I'm the same way. There was a girl. Let's call her a season. She came in warm and left cold. She wasn't swiping. She was just there. In my building, working the same hours, living the same quiet life, except she had this energy that didn't ask permission. She had a way of looking at you that made your body understand before your mind did. The kind of woman who could walk into a room and change the temperature without saying a word. I liked that. I liked being around someone who didn't calculate, because I calculate everything. I count days, I count reps, I count the minutes between the last time I felt something real and right now. And she was real. Messy, but real. She'd show up and we'd crash into each other like 2 cars running the same red light. No seatbelts, no signals, just impact. Her body against mine in rooms that smelled like vanilla and sweat and something I still can't name. Skin on skin and breath that couldn't keep up. Afterward, she'd lie there scrolling her phone, and I'd lie there staring at the ceiling doing math in my head. How many days since I started the journal? How many women since her? How many times I'd written, the partner I seek is also seeking me, and then turned around and treated someone like a pit stop on the way to nowhere. I gave her a letter grade once, wrote it in the notebook, right underneath the affirmation about my future wife. The irony wasn't lost on me. It was just easy to ignore. And then there was the night everything got complicated. She told me what she wanted. 2 words. 2 men. And I didn't hesitate. I made it happen in half a heartbeat because that's what I do. I hear what a woman wants, and I deliver it like a man auditioning for a role he never intends to keep. I called Horace. He's my boy, the first real friend I made in that life. Two introverts who went out together because neither one wanted to go out alone. The kind of friend who'd cut people off for you, but only if it didn't cost him something he couldn't replace. He's loyal in the way that matters, not performative, just present. He didn't think twice either. And for one night, from midnight until the sun started threatening the blinds, we were generous. She got everything she asked for, and then some. I'm not going to give you every detail because this isn't that kind of story. But it's not that kind of story either. What I'll tell you is this. Her back arched like a bridge, and we crossed it back and forth until none of us knew whose hands were whose. We moved around her like a secret already halfway to becoming a problem. And when it was over, when the sheets were tangled and the room smelled like something that doesn't have a name because nobody's supposed to talk about it, she lay between us, breathing like she'd just surfaced from underwater, and none of us said a word. Because what do you say after you've shared something that intimate with two people you'll have to look in the eye at breakfast? We did it again, and again, for months. What started as a single reckless night turned into a rotation, a rhythm, a thing none of us had a name for, but all of us kept showing up to. And for a while it felt like freedom, like the rules didn't apply, like I'd found a loophole in loneliness. But bodies have memories, and feelings don't read the room. She caught something none of us planned for, not a disease, worse. She caught feelings, and not for both of us, for me. And Horace, my boy, my real one, he caught them too, for her. And just like that, the loophole closed. There's a code. You know this if you've ever had a brother who wasn't your blood. You don't cross certain minds without asking. She came to me and told me what he did, that he shot his shot without telling me first. He violated. We stopped speaking. And her? I led her on. I wasn't proud of it, and I wasn't sorry either, and just kept doing it because it was easy and because the alternative was being alone, and I'm not good at alone. Not yet. I told her what she wanted to hear the same way I've been telling women what they want to hear since I was 19 years old back home, learning that charm is just lying with better posture. I kept her close enough to use and far enough to leave. I found every reason not to be more committed, because if I committed to her, I couldn't keep my boy, and if I wanted what she gave me and couldn't share it, the math just didn't work. So I manufactured reasons, picked fights I didn't believe in, made her mad enough to walk away so I didn't have to be the one who left. That's what men like me do. We design the exit so it looks like your idea. And then I bought something loud with 2 wheels and an engine and rode away from both of them without looking back. That's what I do. I run. But here's the thing about running. Eventually you run out of road. And when you stop, when the engine cools and the night gets quiet and you're sitting in that room again with the notebook open, the truth is still there, waiting. Her. I won't say her name, not yet. Maybe not ever in this season. But you'll feel her in every room you walk through. She's the draft under the door, the creak in the floorboard, the reason the lights are off. She was the kind of woman who could prick you and make you bleed, and you'd thank her for the attention. Special. Not delicate. Special. And I didn't treat her like she was. I treated her like she was mine to break. I let my friends have her. I let myself have her friends. I juggled women like a clown and called it talent. I cheated on her with a girl whose virginity I took like I was Black Friday shopping. First in line, no hesitation. Left before the receipt printed. I went back and forth between them for years, always accounted for somewhere, never honest about where. One bed to the next, one lie stacked on the last. And when one of them would get close to the truth, I knew how to use tenderness like a weapon. A kiss in the right place at the right time could make a woman forget what she was about to accuse me of. And she knew. She kept asking, and I kept denying. Until one day, driving to see a friend, she called and asked point blank, and I said yes. I said yes to all of it. I cleared my conscience. But the truth didn't set me free, not the way they promise. Being free doesn't always mean liberation. Sometimes it just means the lie finally broke apart and took everything with it. The truth set me free the way a building collapse sets the dust free. Everything I'd held together with charm and timing and the right words at the right moment, it all came down. She came back one last time. We had sex, slow, like we both knew it was the last time, but neither of us wanted to be the one to say it. Like our bodies were having a conversation, our mouths couldn't. And when it was over, she looked at me and said, "It's over." And I screamed, "No!" so loud my roommate heard it through the walls. I fell on my knees and cried harder than a newborn entering this world, because it felt like mine was ending. And then she was gone. And I moved across the country after her with a credit card and 4 suits and nothing else, because I still believed that showing up would be enough. It wasn't. My father told me once, "Run your own race. Don't worry about the person next to you." So I ran. I ran all the way to a place where nobody knew me, where the past was just a collection of notebooks in a box, where she was just a name I wrote in the dark and then closed the book on. And I thought, this is growth. I'm reading, I'm writing. I'm working out twice a day until my body looks like an apology for everything I've done. I'm counting days like a man in recovery. Day 75, day 100, day 200. I've got goals. I've got a plan. I've got a pitch deck and a dream and 3 affirmations that I say every night like a man whispering the combination to a safe he can't open yet. But the house was still dark. June 23rd, the competition. They lined us up, 12 of us, pressed, clean, and polished. Answers rehearsed, anxiety moving under our skin like something alive. You could see it immediately. These men had been preparing for that moment long before they ever stepped into it. The confidence wasn't loud. It was trained, built, earned over time. The kind of conditioning that doesn't start last month or last year. It starts somewhere deep in a man's decision to become something, and by the time he walks into the room, it's already part of how he breathes. I came in last. I was wrecked, bone deep sore, the kind of sore that sits in your joints and reminds you with every step that you were outclassed. And I walked out of that building feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Proud. Not because I lost, because I showed up. Because 6 months earlier I was lying in the dark writing affirmations to a God I wasn't even sure was listening, trying to convince myself I was enough. And now I was standing in front of people who held my shot of victory in their hands, answering questions about who I was and what I believed, and meaning every word. I came in last, but for the first time in my life, last didn't feel like failure. Because losing a competition is not the same as being a loser. And that day, for the first time, I felt like I had actually begun. The lights are still off. I know that. I'm standing in the dark, feeling for the switch, but I can hear the electricity humming in the walls. Something's alive in here. Something's been alive this whole time, feeding on journal entries and affirmations and bad decisions and good intentions, and every woman I've ever touched, trying to feel the one I couldn't reach. And one of these nights, maybe tonight, maybe next year, maybe when I'm old enough to stop running and young enough to still care, I'm going to find that switch. And when I flip it, you'll see everything. Every corner, every lie, every body, every line of powder, every notebook, every night. I wrote, I am enough, and didn't believe it. I am Atlas, and even when the lights are on, they're off. But not for long. Next week on The Unlit House, Day 1. Atlas opens the notebook for the first time. Hi, my name is Atlas, and this is 2020. The rules, the ritual, the reason. and the woman he left behind to become the man he's pretending to be.